Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chestnut channel. It is Samhain, not the month of Samhain, but the season of Samhain, I suppose. I'm not too familiar with this. That's why I've got a hold of a friend of mine who I've known for many years, Sean Hooper. I know him through the Clan Macintosh North America. He's a Halloween aficionado, I would say. His birthday is on Halloween, as is my son and my grandsons, both of them. So I'm very attuned to Halloween as well. But Sean knows a lot more about it than I do in the history of it, what it came from, and what we do today, and that kind of thing. So, how are we doing, Sean? Haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, it's been too long, Ray. You've been doing all right?
Yeah, pretty well, thanks.
Good
Busy with
deal.
the clan stuff in New England, and I know you are as well down south.
Yeah, it's always good to see stuff going on. So, and you're the same way. See Clan Hatton stuff happening. So, always a good day, good deal.
Yep, indeed. So Samhain, it's a lot of things we do, these days, Sean. I'm thinking that people are not really sure why the heck they do them anymore. They're a lot of fun, but where do they come from, and who dreamt them up, and why do we do them? It's a lot of mystery to this, and I'm hoping we can clear some of that up with you.
Well, like I said when we were first talking, I won't say expert, but maybe advanced hobbyist something. So, I mean, the bit of Samhain, be it the day or the time, however, the holiday,
Right.
if you care to say that, is, it initially kind of was, we believe, sort of founded in Ireland about 4,500, 5,000 years ago, something.
Uh-huh.
Um, a place, Irish Gaelic, I'm going to butcher it, but it's a place called Tlacta, or the Hill of Ward, because the Ward was the guy who was named owner of the property. But
Okay.
there's a hill there still that is it basically has remnants that archaeological evidence shows was kind of the first time a bonfire, actually they were bone fires, was sort of initially happened around this time, celebrating what was at then both the end and the beginning of the year for the people that were there.
Yes.
Um, and so like the sort of around the first second of November is kind of the end, well, the beginning, the end of the holiday, if you will. And then
Yep.
like 30th, 31st is sort of the end and of the year.
I
And
see.
there was a time when time sort of it's kind of hard to explain, but time sort of stopped for them. There was that the whole veil is thinning,
Okay.
where your ancestors may be seeing ghosts, goblins, haunting kind of things. Um, well, the hauntings and that stuff came later, but ghosts of usually generally it was people who had died the previous year, be they adults, warriors, spouses, whoever.
Right.
That's generally who was celebrated then, and and it was initially a celebration of people who had died, or passed on, whatever.
I
Uh,
see.
but that was sort of how it started anyway. They think, but again, the time sort of stopped there because there wasn't. I mean, we obviously didn't have timekeeping devices like we do today. No iPhone or Galaxy phone saying, "Hey, this is the day and the time."
Right.
So, in addition to the solstice, which can happen around then, that was sort of the veil thinned as the night fell. Well, and it usually started at an evening, so like the evening around October 30th, and then through around the evening of the 1st or 2nd of November. So it didn't start like most modern holidays, start at midnight or 8 a.m. or something the day of. Whereas this one would have
Okay.
started at 6. Most of the holidays then started, or festivals started around dusk.
Oh,
About
interesting.
the time the sun set, that was in essence, your next day because that day had finished. So
Okay.
that was starting your following day.
Interesting. Yeah.
But the whole veil thinning part was more along the lines of this year has ended before the new one starts. There's this time of about there's some argument, but about 3 days where time sort of stands still. We're not celebrating the end. We're not, we haven't started the new year yet. So there's a time where the whole thing again, the veil thinning, and we can between the living and the dead gets thinner, and things like that can happen.
Lately, I've been noticing, the moon hangs up in the sky for a little while in the morning. To me, that's a little blending of day and night. Perhaps that's the veil. Perhaps that's some of the idea of the veil thinning.
That's exactly right. Yes,
Is it? Okay.
when the astrological bodies were in the sky at the same time, you
Okay.
could see,
I thought
yeah,
perhaps that. So there's a melding, there's a blurring there of the two.
right, exactly, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. And sort of a reckoning or a taking account of who we've lost during that year. Um,
exactly, yeah,
saying goodbye to them probably for that last time or something, maybe.
yeah.
Um, right.
That, and that was sort of the end, and then the beginning of the new year. Bonfires were lit. Well, you generally at Tlacta, there was like a sort of a great fire, if you will, that the day before or a few days before, all the people around would extinguish their hearth fires. So there was no fire anymore in the villages or surrounding areas. Without being too boring, then at the
No.
festival at Tlacta, um, the person in charge, you can call him high priest, druid, Celt, whoever you want to call them,
Right.
would in essence pass the fire from the great fire, the bonfire, the bone fire, to all the people around, and then they take it back to their home, and then that's what they would have through the winter. So it was literally, it also helped establish a sense of community.
Sure.
So,
Right. I can see that the communal fire and yeah, very symbolic. Absolutely. You're taking that home to your own hearth, right?
right, exactly, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and recently I read a little bit about well, the beginning of the Celtic New Year, and the thinking is that seeds have just now fallen from the stalk and they're falling into the ground. They're going to be there all winter, uh, and form in the spring and sprout through. But they thought of the beginning of all that is right now.
Right, exactly. Well, and those that they didn't harvest, like you say, did fall to the ground, and they were hoping that indeed they would survive the winter in the ground and then come up in the spring. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, interesting. And that makes a lot of sense too. The seed's already in the ground as long as no birds disturb it. It'll warm up gradually, probably rather than being thrust into some frozen, half frozen ground in the spring.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and again, that's without getting too Disney, but that's part of the kind of circle of life thing that there is.
Mm,
When this stuff falls to the ground, hopefully the birds have already migrated south, and they wouldn't be, birds, squirrels, rabbits, all that kind of thing are already are going into hibernation, so they won't be around as long.
good point. Yep.
Take all that stuff away.
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, And this time of year as well, people are starting to store things up, and for the winter, of course. I've been doing a lot of some segments with my grandson Benny lately and things, and we've been talking about how people get ready for the winter, pickling things and
Oh yeah, canning.
nowadays freezing, but smoking, salting, pickling, drying, all
Yep.
those things are coming into play for that, right?
Oh yeah.
Very
That's an old
important.
tradition. No, it or not, but yeah, that's an old tradition.
Right. Right. Very familiar with the mason jar.
Right. Oh yeah. Growing up, my mom did a lot of canning. Yes, a lot of canning.
Yeah, which really brings to mind this certainly an age-old tradition, right? You needed food in January, and if you don't work now to figure out how to get it to stay in some form for you, then you're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. Basically, if you didn't know how to preserve it one way or the other, usually dry it was the
Mhm.
big thing, or and keep things out of it. Yeah, you may very well starve to death.
Right, as well as what animals to select for butchering, perhaps which ones to to uh to bring through to the spring that might produce the most lambs or that kind of thing. A lot of knowledge had to be developed over a lot of centuries.
Oh yeah, yeah. And when to shear, when not to shear. Sheep are, like or not, sheep are a big thing in Ireland, Scotland.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's like that's one of the things. If you go to any of these places, like the Hill of Tara, for example, which is part of it is actually aligned with that solstice, close
Uh,
to close to Halloween or Samhain. Um, for example, if you go there, one of the things no one ever tells you about in any of the brochures is you have to watch where you step because those sheep have, that's their grazing ground. So you want to be careful where you step to. Yeah.
yep,
There's been sheep there a long time.
right. Speaking of soil that the seed can sprout from,
It's fertilizer. Yeah.
right. Now what's the business of driving animals through the smoke and things? That's a ritual they did, is it not, Sean?
Yes, that was to basically what that did was it helped. Well, and some people did it as well. It helped and it basically initiate them from the previous year into the new year. It was literally a visual symbol they could see of
Oh,
going into the new year.
okay.
Um, some of them may have a little better luck. There's some debate on whether it was just animals that were to be sacrificed or whether it was the entire herd. Um, I've read a lot, and it almost breaks 50-50 whether or not they were just animals for slaughter and then the fire, and
Mm.
then or was it they all went that way. So
Bobbing for apples is a thing that I think of this time of year too. It's another one of these things that I was just writing about this other day. The other day, I wrote a little piece. Um, we did it, and we didn't know why we did it. It was time to do it. People lined up, and they stuck their head in a pail of water, or they tried to get the apple off the string from the rafter on the roof. They didn't know why they were doing it, but sure enough, we did it every year.
right, well, that came quite a bit later. That was probably around, well, I can't say turn of the century anymore because now our century starts with a two, but
Right.
started probably more in like the late 16 1700s,
Hmm.
of more of a game to play since, again, apples are not that Macintosh have apples or anything, but we
There
do.
you go.
Uh, but that was one of the things to do with them that would help bring people together. Um,
Okay.
since your orchard or of apples you'd harvested, you were ready for them. Again, there are only so many things you can do, and if you're gonna be maybe slightly better off, you can, again, if you're someone like that in the community that would have a gathering.
Mhm.
That's one of the things you could do with them. You could bob for apples. You can tie them to the string from the ceiling, or a variety of things that I'm sure too they had. At that point, baking was a big deal. You can say, hey, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they had who's the best pie maker of them,
Mhm.
or what are the variety of things you can do. Again, sharing ideas with people in the community, what they can do with them other than just store them, dry them, that kind of thing.
Right. Yep. And a lot of times it's some of the different holidays, especially the wintertime holidays, you hear about, oh, baking some sort of a prize or a an object in the cake or a pie in order for whoever finds that perhaps to gain some luck out of that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, bring some luck for that year. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
coin in the cake.
yeah.
Now, so guising is the word they're using in many parts of the UK for, well, we call it trick or treating here.
Hmm. Right.
It's the second half of the word disguise.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The root word. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Where again, it was guising was kind of twofold. It could be either to hide yourself or protect yourself from spirits, be they in any spirit at all, if you didn't want to see anyone, or particularly if you had the belief system of evil spirits, you wanted to protect yourself from those.
Okay.
And guising was a way to do exactly that, to dress up as, something that generally would be considered moderately scary, was indeed to scare off the evil spirits or that kind of thing. And that way you could more safely, maybe go from place to place close to dusk. You still probably didn't want to do it at night because, um, well, I don't know. Well, we've all heard, and I may be jumping around a little. We've all
Okay.
heard about jack-o'-lanterns
Oh
here
yeah.
in the U.S. They're pumpkins. It started with, well, a lot of people may know that it started with a turnip, but it started with a guy named Stingy Jack,
Okay.
hence the jack-o'-lantern, where Stingy Jack, the whole story is kind of vague, but the crux of it is Stingy Jack managed to cheat the devil twice. The first time, because Stingy Jack was just that, he was stingy, he and the devil were having a beverage at the pub. And in essence, Jack didn't want to pay. And of course, the devil's not paying. He's like, I'm not going to do this. This is your pub, your deal.
Yeah.
But somehow, Stingy Jack managed to convince the devil that if the devil turned himself into a coin that would pay for the drinks, then Jack could basically pay for it with the devil.
Okay.
And the devil reluctantly said, okay, that way they're at least paid for. So the devil turns himself into a coin, and Stingy Jack promptly puts the coin in his pocket where he has a silver cross,
Ah,
which prevents the devil from turning back into his regular form. Um, and after a while, Stingy Jack manages to convince the devil that if he lets him out of being the form of a coin, he'll let him out, but the devil can never claim his soul. He can't ever take him to hell. He can't kill him. So the devil reluctantly, of course, says okay. And to further along the story of how stingy Jack was, a similar situation happened, except this time he manages to climb a tree because basically Jack said he couldn't do it. And the devil's like, I can climb, I can do anything I want. I'm the devil. And so the devil climbs up the tree, and at that point, quickly, Stingy Jack pulls out his knife and carves the symbol of a cross on the tree, thus condemning the devil to stay in the tree.
you can't cross
Um,
down again. Yeah.
right, exactly. So, again, jumping ahead, the basically the deal with Stingy Jack and how he became the carrier of the Jack-o'-lantern
Hmm.
was because the devil kept his promise, and he supposedly never killed Jack, and of course he couldn't take him to hell. However, God said, I can't have someone that's that unscrupulous in heaven. So Jack is stuck, if you want to
He's in
believe that.
limbo. Yes.
Yeah, and wandering the earth,
Hmm.
his little carved out turnip. The devil was apparently nice enough to give him a burning ember from hell, so it will never go out.
Yeah.
But so there's your Jack o' lantern, Jack
Right.
carrying the lantern around seemingly today
Right.
because he can't go either to heaven or hell. So that's kind of the story of the Jack o' lantern, and you might be careful. So uh, yeah.
How ni- how nice. I knew you'd be great for little things like that. That's fantastic, Sean. I never heard that.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Well, I'm glad I can help you out.
No, I did read something about people perhaps using turnips to go from one room to another with embers,
Hmm.
perhaps just to heat a room or a bed or a closet where they used to sleep in little closets sometimes. But perhaps that was a thing as well. I could see that it would be a good container, right? It's wet. It's wet.
Yep.
It's leathery. It's not going to burn through or wet. Or if it does, it'll probably go out.
Right.
Interesting. Interesting. I thought. So we're going to say that Halloween came here with the Irish, perhaps, or perhaps the Scots as well. And I know it became a huge thing here, right? Well, the commercialism of it and the
Yeah.
probably the everyone because we don't know why we do it anymore. That's right there tells me it was commercialized, right? It's none of our business. Just do it.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who just kind of buy into once a company says, "Hey, I can make money on this,"
Yeah.
suddenly everyone wants to do it. Every company is doing it, from Mars to Hershey's to Cadbury. Everyone has some kind of something Halloween related now.
Yeah.
Um,
Movies too. And yep.
yeah, entertainment. I mean, Hocus Pocus 3 is supposed to be come out next year. So, 1 and 2 weren't enough.
And no, not everyone has to be scary anymore. That's not a rule any longer. You can be anybody, right? Ronald Reagan, whoever.
Well,
Long as you're can't be identified as who you are, you qualify, I guess, these days.
right, I had a couple, I guess, early teenage boys who were, one of them was Jake from State Farm last year, and then the
Oh,
other one was the guy from, um, the emu company and the insurance
Oh,
company. So I was like, yeah, okay, I
oh,
get it.
Liberty Mutual, whatever.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, Liberty Mutual. Yeah, that's right. But I was like, that's clever. You don't get candy. It's not a great deal to dress up like that, but that was
right.
clever. Yeah, you got candy.
Yeah, and you get the people that dress up as bacon and eggs and things like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then of course you always get princesses and that kind of thing. What they want to do or be when they grow up. Sure. Yeah.
Right, sure. Absolutely no. So you must have been to some awful big Halloween parties when you were a kid, or I know you grew up with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's because I mean, I was born and then candy showed up. So what's not to celebrate? And at least at our house. So yeah,
Right.
it's always been fun. Anything from, just getting together with friends to like neighborhoods, or as I get older, I don't know how we want to delicately say the pub may
Yep.
have a party, that kind of thing. So different costume parties. And of course, my first degree is from an arts conservatory. So you want to know some creative people when it comes to Halloween? Yeah, artists we're great for Halloween. So,
Oh yeah. I knew you. I know that about you too. And that first thing I thought of too is this all your theatrical endeavors and lighting and sound and scenery and everything. You and Elizabeth as well.
oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I have a little red glow because I use some of the same stuff I use when I do lighting, some of the color that I use. So yeah,
right.
added red to that.
Yeah, it's always been pretty big at our house too. Right from the day my son Dan was born in the hospital, the doctors and nurses had witches hats and
Right.
mummy they had plenty of gauze in the hospital, so they have a lot to work with.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was kind of a thing. And now my son Patrick he was born. He's going to be 7. He
Oh
was
wow.
born in Halloween as well. Kind of crazy, but who
Like I
knows?
say, it's the holiday to me that kicks off the spirit of giving. I mean, where else what other holiday can you show up at someone's door and go, "Hey, I'd like some candy," and have it work? None. Christmas, you don't even get to do that. Just house, house, house. You
Right.
might go to one friend's house for Christmas or something, but everybody's welcoming there. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's always the pillowcase when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. And you felt special if like yours were in the laundry or something and you got to use like your mom or dad's king size pillowcase.
Ah, there you go.
Hey, I'm gonna hit an apartment complex.
That's right. Yeah, some people know what neighborhood to go to and migrate over to and this and that. And so at
Hmm.
some places I know it's a regular drive-through experience, isn't it, Sean? Some places whole not whole towns, but perhaps cul-de-sacs, what's the word?
Neighborhoods or that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
subdivision, whatever it is. Yeah, that kind of thing. Some people really get together, don't they, and really make an extravaganza out of it.
Oh yeah. There's a stretch actually right by one of the hospitals here that's probably it's one of the busier residential roads, but it's still a residential road. But so houses line it, and there must be 8, 10 blocks or something where every
Wow.
house has really impressive,
Yep.
decorations, and yeah, they get hundreds of kids, 400 or 500 kids come through a night or more.
Wow.
So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it truly rivals Christmas decorations. It really, really does.
Does. Yeah, I was gonna say I think right behind Christmas, Halloween has the most money spent of any of the rest of the holidays.
Oh yeah. And then if we talk about, Sean, like movies and a lot of up here in New England, and I'm sure probably across the country, there's a lot of these haunted walks, haunted woods, haunted this, haunted that.
Oh,
Right there. Well, sometimes they're theme parks of a sort or pop-up type things that come into play. They're kind of neat.
oh yeah, you'll find. Well, again, it's one of those. Somebody said, "Hey, I can make money if I have a haunted walkthrough or haunted trail or
Yep.
haunted house, even because if you like punch in haunted house for Halloween into your favorite search engine,
Yep.
you'll find like top 10 lists across the country or where you are, or we've got a few here that always rank in the top 20 in the country or something. So yeah,
Yep.
it's again a great thing, where I'm just glad people celebrate myself, but you know, that's kind of me. So
I knew you were going to love this. I'm so glad I contacted you, Sean. I really am.
yeah, at first I was a little reluctant. I'm like, I'm not really sure what to do or this or that. And that's when I was also like, well, how long do you want this to be, Ray? Because I could probably talk about this for hours, but
We can do a part two. That's fine.
exactly, yeah,
A sequel.
yeah.
Come back to life or something, right?
Resurrection part,
Right. So you have speaking of houses with you have quite a setup at your own house, don't you?
Yes, yeah. I've got obviously, and most of the stuff that I have, I made, just because I thought that meant a little more. But hey, if you're into just blow up things for your house that just inflate, that's fine too. But yeah, I've got a number of tombstones. I made some really nice, think of like tiki style torches that I made that are actually like they're those the Halloween buckets that you get when you were a little kid,
Yeah.
the pumpkin. So I put those on a bunch of pipe so they kind of line the walk coming to the house.
Oh,
And
nice.
probably the thing I'm most proud of is I made a life-size, actually bigger than life-size Jack Skellington
Ah,
uh, from The Nightmare Before Christmas. So I put
okay.
him and his sleigh out in the display too. So yeah, I've got
Oh,
a life
lovely.
size. So when he was going around for Christmas, you know, to distributing gifts and that kind of stuff, I've got a life size Jack Skellington and Zero out there. So
Oh,
yeah,
very nice.
yeah,
Oh man, I used to have such fun with that too. Every year I would try something different, think about a new angle of doing this and that. You know, I got a couple of oscillating stand-up fans, you know, that somebody put out to the road for the trash, and I took the top off of it, and I had some light up heads stuck on there, and they would oscillate back and forth, and
excellent, nice.
just all kind of different things. I had a lot of fun with it.
Mhm.
Probably started in September, started snaking cords through my garden and fence and all kind of things. And
Oh yeah, yeah, and again, it's one of those where you can look at, you know, if you go to like YouTube and look up home Halloween lights or home
yep.
Halloween decoration, there are some people that you're like, A, how much did you spend? And then B, where do you store this stuff when it's
Yeah.
not out? You know, I mean, my little crawl space thing is pretty full. So I can't, I mean, I've got a few more ideas that I want to add, but you know, what some of these people do is impressive. I mean, I won't lie. It's like,
Oh yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I still have two smoke machines. I don't know. I mean, fog machines. I don't know what I'm doing with those. I just went up the attic in the garage today and looked around at some of the things up there. And of course,
Excellent.
I've given a lot of it to my son Dan. He has it at their house now,
Okay.
so they
Um,
could. It's bigger at his house now than it is mine, but that's how it goes.
well,
Uh,
hey, you know, if you have to, you don't need them. I'm sure he could use them.
right. Yeah, and I used to use bleach bottles and put masks over the top of it and put lights inside of it, and I had a lot of fun with it. People
Oh,
really liked it too, and I think they were disappointed when I stopped it, but
yeah, we were at the grocery store a couple hours ago, just earlier, and there was one of the ladies from the neighborhood who said, I noticed, or some of her friends or something that are visiting with her noticed that you have some new additions. And I'm like, yeah, I added the holding hands witches. So I've got some witches out there now that I'm gonna modify a little and update them. But yeah, it's weird how many people would go, hey, you've got something new or that, or and it's like, yeah, it's cool.
yeah, I could even sit in my garage and pull a little string. At one point, I had something there, so I had it on some eye bolts, some eye hooks, you know, so I could bring it up and down. And oh, what
Uh-huh.
fun,
Right.
Sean!
Yeah, exactly. It's cool. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad you. I'm glad you conceded to come on, Sean. I really am. And a lot of people are a little nervous about things at first, but hopefully I put you at ease a little bit. I've had a
Right.
lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, I actually it's kind of settled into it. So yeah, it was nice. A lot. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Ray.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope to get down there to see you guys at the clan gatherings again sometime. I've been down to Grandfather twice, and I think Tennessee once.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
Need
know
to
they
come.
just had the big Stone Mountain event, and
Yep.
I do realize there's a lot of reconstruction to get done down your way as well. Um,
Yeah. That's next year is going to be interesting. I've heard that grandfather's opened again. Well, initially, sort of a sort of soft opening, if you will. But yeah, the western part of the state got pounded, washed away, something. So
Yeah.
um,
My brother's in Hendersonville, and he actually is okay. His street, his neighborhood is all right.
okay, well that's very good to hear because there
Yeah,
are a lot of
yeah.
places there that aren't.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't leave their neighborhood, and there's nothing to go to for a while. For
Yeah.
but
I'm
yeah,
glad he's doing okay though. So
yeah, yeah. They're fine now. They were without power and water for quite a while, but they had no damage to the house or anything right there in the street, at least. But yeah, the town was absolutely devastated.
yeah, I've got some good friends who are in Valley Crucis, which is just sort of east of Boone by a few miles, and other than down trees, fortunately along the road, their house is okay. But again, I think they were staying in a hotel for a couple weeks because there was no power, no water, no
Yes,
no kind of any utilities. And like the Mass General Store, you may have heard of that or something, which is sort of an icon by itself, but that had one of its outbuildings in essence washed into the road. And I mean, it was a nightmare. But yeah, fortunately, my friends are doing basically okay now. I think they moved back. But yeah,
okay, well, good. Um, so I'm sure you want to go outside and adjust a few lights right now or something or other. There must be something you've got to do. Come on.
there's a little tweaking I can do. Yeah, I figure the last few days just before Halloween will have um the last touches done. But yeah, I won't bore you with the details. But yeah,
Right. No, it's a lot like the Christmas tree, folks. If none of you do this kind of thing that we're talking about, it's a lot like the Christmas tree. There's always something else you can put on there. It's what I did too, right up until the last day, even and then afterwards, it's a real letdown, Sean, is it not?
oh yeah, it's like okay. Well, yeah, one of the things the sort of the church did was they acknowledged Halloween, Samhain, but then they tacked on the day after is All Saints Day. So it's kind of a much lighter in several ways day after that. So it's
Right.
kind of a definite you know, yeah, it's over. Period. So,
Except
yeah,
candy is 65% off now. This might be
at
that's
least
one
yes.
highlight, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, that's the time. Yeah. Uh,
And all the dentists are going to have plenty of Christmas money.
oh yeah, their Christmas bonuses are coming right after Halloween. Yes.
Right. Oh, this has been fantastic, Sean. I really appreciate you coming on the Tusknot channel, and I've met a lot of new friends through this, and I've gotten a hold of a lot of old friends like yourself to help me out with a lot of topics and a lot of subjects on here. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, well, thank you, Ray. And I've seen quite a few of these, yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to watch that one again. Or that's neat. You know, the DNA stuff. Yeah, that was, as the biologist in me was like, that's really neat. But yeah,
Okay.
you've been doing a great job too. Thanks, Ray.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, there'll be some follow-up DNA as well then, especially since you said that, because I surely want to go back into that a few times and have a few segments on that as well as some other things. The Wildcat segment, I want to have an update about that. Um, keep things going, through the winter. It'll be a little tough, but I'll try to keep the pulse going, keep the momentum.
Keep the home fires burning, right?
Exactly. Keep the torch burning for
Oh, yeah,
Halloween right now.
right. Into the new year.
Samhain.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
thank you
Neat.
so much, Sean.
Thanks, Ray. Take care.
All right. Happy Halloween, everyone. All Hallows Eve.
Happy Samhain. Happy Halloween. Yeah.
All righty. Touch not, my friends.